Hey, thanks for joining me again this week as we look at an older XM piece, Mysterio. He first appeared in 1964 in Amazing Spider-Man number 13. Beck was a special effects artist in Hollywood, and he decided that he was going to bring down Spider-Man, and that was going to be his road to fame. So Beck went from being a wannabe to a formidable foe, a member of the Sinister Six, and he later even became a foe of Daredevil. So in case I forget to say it later, please hit that like, subscription, and notification bell so that you'll receive notifications the next time I release a video. And now let's take a look at XM's Mysterio. All right, let's jump right into it. Concept. So with concept, I think the artist did a pretty good job here. You have to portray the mystic side of Mysterio, and so you have to portray magic somehow. You have to portray that power that isn't that easy to display. So he chose to do it in the smoke. I'm not a huge fan of smoke in bases. I think it's one of the weaknesses of the Spider-Man you see right down here. It's never looks right to me. I think this is, was a good concept, and to have the swirling to the way that he made him look like he's levitating by just 1 foot peg into the base of the smoke here was very well done. The cape flowing, even the position of the hands, like he's conjuring something. Just everything with the design. Even the base, has the mystic type symbols down here. He decided to carry that into each of the brass looking parts here, which I think was very cool. So you got a theme from top to bottom. Very well done. With the smoke, they hid the seams really well. You probably can't even pick them up in the camera, but there's a seam right here and there's a seam right here. So the cape, which is very heavy, rests right here on the smoke, and you don't even see that unless you're looking for it. So that was very smart in the original concept drawings, or what he had in his mind there. Also, the artist provided 3 head sculpts, my favorite being the skull here. I'll get some close-ups of that. The traditional Mysterio light bulb, I call it. And then the unmasked Quentin Beck. So overall, with the concept, I really don't have that much criticism for it. I think it portrays the power of the character, but I'm going to give concept a score of 9. Moving on to construction. As I already said, the seams are hidden very well. They're very tight. Nothing moves whenever you shake it around. The shake is just from my table and the lazy Susan that's setting on. But if it's setting on flat, it is rock solid. And considering he's only keyed in just with 1 foot there, the cape weighs a ton. It is the heaviest statue probably that I own. I can't think of another heavier one. Maybe Craven with the lion might be a little bit heavier. But weighs a ton, and again, the construction of it, resting this here, the way that they hid all the seams, I have absolutely zero criticism of construction, so therefore it gets a 10. Next up is Sculpt. Really like what they did with those. They have the eyes, that he has on his chest up here. They have these what I call fish scale type patterns. It's funny, these patterns remind me of my grandmother. Her sheetrock ceiling had those broom swish marks in them, and it reminds me of that. But that's carried throughout. I think that was an excellent idea on the sculpt and in design. Very well done. All this is just looks excellent. The smoke, again, I'm usually not a fan of, but I can't see how they could have done it any better. His musculature is he's fit but not roided out. So I think that was a wise choice there. He looks formidable but not silly. So very well done. There's a lot of detail in the sculpt and the boots here. Those are very well done. I like these, that they chose these boxes, kind of a mystic looking thing for his gauntlets here. And they have a very interesting pattern on the back side of the gloves, gauntlets. You have the skull, which I don't know how they pulled off the look of it. It's very dimensional looking, how they pulled off the smoke and all inside, but it is very cool. Really like the skull head sculpt. The sculpting here, you know, I mean, it's interesting on the collar and all, but really not much to it. The back head sculpt is okay. It's nice, you know, nothing spectacular there. I would have left it off and maybe gave a second option, maybe in the hands or something. I don't know exactly what that would have been, but I would have left the unmasked head sculpt out of it. Second criticism is the cape. Boring. It's completely flat. There's no texture whatsoever. There is a line that goes right around the hem of it, but they did absolutely nothing with it. Another small thing that I'm not going to ding it for, but just what I would have done differently, was to accent the eyes on the where the cape attaches here. Two things I think about with Mysterio is the fishbowl head and then those eyes right there, and they kind of disappear in this. They're there, you know, so they did represent that, but I would have just brought those out. I don't know, to paint them, make them a little larger, maybe jewels for the eyes, just something there to bring that out. So between the back head sculpt, which is just okay, and the cape, overall I'm going to give the sculpt a score of 8. Next category is paint. The paint on the base, boots, gloves, belt, etc. is very similar to the Wolverine, that statue of the fish, in the fact that it is a brass with a oxidized patina on it that gives it this greenish hue. Again, very well done. XM knows how to pull this off. It's very well painted in that. It looks like what it's supposed to be. And they carried that throughout the statue, so I like the fact that it's a theme top to the bottom. The smoke is about as well done as it could be. I like the fact they didn't go gray. They went kind of this purplish to pick up the color in the cape, which is nice. The suit is okay. It's nice. Nothing special, nothing bad there. The boots are painted like the base. You know, I'm going to skip the brass parts there because they're done as well as the base is done, so very nice. Not really much to say about the head sculpt paint unless this frosting is paint. It's exceptionally well done. It's just the right amount to where you see the skull but not just like immediately. So however they pulled that off, interior A+, love it. The paint job on the back sculpt is nice, good, no criticisms there. It's just I don't really care for the unmasked head, but it's okay. Criticisms of the paint. The cape. Okay, so how do you remedy a boring sculpt? Give it a boring paint job. What?
You cannot win half-assed.
Okay, so there's no shading whatsoever. It's just one flat purple. So you have this little line here, and you have a totally smooth, totally flat painted cape. Put some accents in the shading of this. You could have helped it out a ton. I don't know what they were thinking with the cape of this thing. I love the fact that it is not mixed media. I love the fact that it is a sculpted cape. See Thor, wherever he's at up there. So paint is very nicely executed. Don't have too many criticisms. I was almost tempted to give 2 strikes for the cape because it's so bland, but I'm going to give it a score of 9. So the last category we have is presence, and that's how much do you love it? What does it look like on the shelf? Are your eyes drawn to it? Do people come in and go, oh, cool, look at that? So growing up, Mysterio was not one of my favorite villains for Spider-Man. I always thought the fishbowl look was a little silly, but it grew on me. Did some reading on some of the forums and Facebook and what have you, and people were like, man, you got to have that if you got the Spider-Man villains. He's a must. He's a member of the Sinister Six. Got to have it. I was like, yeah, I need to complete, the line there. And I'm actually happy I did. He looks more impressive in person than he does in photos or, what your mind's eye may think of him. But again, he's not a favorite. So this is where presence comes into play. It's kind of a catch-all where I can kind of give my overall opinion and thoughts of it. So not being a favorite, but well done, I'm going to give it an overall score of 8 for presence. Collective score. So some minor criticisms, but an excellent piece overall. I'd highly recommend it, especially if you can find it at a great price and you're looking to complete your Spider-Man villain line. Thumbs up. Highly recommend it. Collective score came in at 44. Thanks for joining me again today. I hope you enjoyed this look and review at XM's Mysterio. If you enjoy what I do, please hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell, and you'll receive notification next time that I release a video, which should be about a week from now. Hopefully got a couple of new cool pieces coming in. Until then, stay safe, stay inside, and I'll see you next week.